What up, Fight World? This Amin Boxing Club, man. Let's get to it. Alright, man. I know this video finna make a lot of people mad. You know, Canelo got a lot of fans and all that, but this is the real though, man. And this is what I've been talking about. I always told y'all that I felt like Demetrius Andrade would outbox Canelo and beat Canelo. Unanimous decision. I felt like Andrade would do that to him. And you know, Canelo Alvarez is overrated, man. But let me just tell you how he overrated real quick. When was the last time Canelo dominated a top fighter? He didn't dominate. I mean, he ended up stopping Billy Joe Saunders. He ended up stopping Caleb Plant. But was he losing rounds to them? Multiple rounds to them. He was losing the fight to Caleb Plant before he got knocked out. And the thing is, man, for people that thought Canelo was invincible ever since he lost to Mayweather, I mean, y'all were just sadly mistaken, man, and y'all wasn't trying to face reality for the simple fact that dude pick his fights for real. Like, he a fighter. He one of the top fighters in boxing that actually go for the guys that's coming off of their worst performances when they don't look the same no more. And you know, guys that we never heard of, well, that ain't nobody, like Abney Yildirim, Rocky Fielding, you know, the list goes on. Callum Smith, man, he was fighting a bunch of guys, and it was never impressive to me. You know, when he beat Caleb Plant, when he knocked him out, I wasn't impressed, but that was a good victory for him. But I knew he was taking the easier route, because, you know, if he wanted to fight some people who we felt like could have beat him for real, he would have been fought Charlo. He would have fought both of the Charlos. He would have, because when he was at a lower weight class, he could have fought both of the Charlos. He would have been fought Andrade. He wouldn't have waited for David Benavidez to lose his belt on the scale to get his belt, you know, to fight for his belt. Canelo been strategic, man, and like, you can only cherry pick for so long, man. So like, you know, I felt like he ran out of cherries, man. And Dimitri Bivol, people trying to make up excuses saying that Canelo moved up and he was too big. I mean, he was too small for the weight class. Bivol was too big for him, but Bivol didn't impose his weight on Canelo, man. He didn't use his weight on Canelo like how Tyson Fury used his weight on Wilder. Like, Tyson Fury he made sure he was big when he fought Wilder, and he used his weight. And, you know, he was leaning on him, getting him tired, you know, outboxing him and stuff like that. He used his weight in that fight, though. Bivol didn't use his weight in this fight, man. Canelo always losing rounds. Like, Canelo, he tried to go for the, I don't know if look, this is what happened with Canelo, man. Canelo was overpowering guys. He was overpowering Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, all of these dudes, just walking straight through them. But what happens when you can't walk through a fighter? Nah, I was just talking about Gervonta Tank Davis, man. Like, when he fought Isaac Cruz, if Gervonta Davis was only a power puncher that just trying to knock you out, he would have lost to Isaac, because he wouldn't have had the skills to outbox him, you know, and outbox him with one hand too, you know. And if y'all can go back and watch the fight, for the people thinking that Isaac won that fight is crazy, but just go back and watch that fight and really look at that fight, man. And Tank outboxed him, and then later on in the fight, he outboxed him with one arm, you know. Canelo, he couldn't he didn't outbox Bivol, and he was just trying to knock Bivol out the whole time. And the same thing he did to Caleb Plant, the same thing he did to Billy Joe Saunders. But it's not like Canelo didn't look like himself at 175, man. Canelo looked like Canelo. He just didn't make no adjustments, man. Like, he didn't try to make no adjustments in that fight, you know. He overrated, man. He a good fighter. I don't want to get that twisted. He a good fighter, man, but he overrated. And I feel like he get too many passes, man. Like, Canelo been staying away from boxers, man. I felt like Lara beat him. Floyd definitely beat him. On paper, he beat him by majority decision, which is crazy, man. They had it a close fight. One judge had it a draw. So when it comes to the scorecards, man, like, Canelo, he been getting gift decisions. A lot of people felt like he lost to Triple G. I felt like the first fight was a draw. You know, I'm never a Canelo hater, but I think Canelo fans need to just face reality, man. Like, they don't want to believe that he can do nothing wrong. Like, man, Canelo is not. He it's simple as that, man. He an overrated fighter, man. He a good fighter. I don't want people to get it twisted. He a good fighter, but overrated. If you thinking that, like, Clarissa Shields, she been going hard for him, and I like Clarissa Shields, but she been talking about, like, she, after the fight, she said she never thought she'll ever see Canelo lose again. Ever since Mayweather, she said she thought she'll never see him lose again. I didn't understand why she thought that, because it ain't like he just dominating fighters where if he don't get the knockout, he just gonna win unanimous or win by decision. Like, the way Canelo was fighting guys, he just overpowering them, man. So what happens when you can't overpower nobody no more? What happens when they can take your best shot? What happened when Wilder ran into somebody that could take his best shot? You know what I'm saying? You see what happened, man. Like, you know, you can't be the best pound for pound #1 and you ain't outboxing people and stopping them. Like, you know, Canelo, he you know, he have it's a lot I can say about, like, the fights he been taking, man. Canelo is a much bigger fighter than a lot of guys he was fighting early on. Like, people don't want to talk about how much bigger he was over Mayweather, Cotto, Amir Khan, you know, the list goes on, Josecito Lopez, all of those guys, Canelo been fighting like guys, man. And now that he fights somebody that's bigger than him, but Bivol don't look like a super big light heavyweight, man. He look like he the same height as Caleb Plant. He damn near the same size as the people Canelo been fighting, you know. So I don't want people to get it twisted, acting like Canelo just fought a giant and the dude was just walking through him and he was just so much bigger than him and too strong for him. No, man. And another thing, Canelo always fatigued in fights. He always get tired in fights, man. This is something that we look at Canelo when he fought Triple G, man. He got tired early in those fights. He always had stamina problems. You know, when he got tired in the first fight with Triple G, for the second fight, he popped dirty for steroids, but nobody tried to hold that against Canelo. But, man, look, it's right in your face, man. For all the Canelo fans, bro, it's right in your face, man. Y'all can say it was the meat. It wasn't the meat, man. It wasn't the meat, man. Canelo, that was just an excuse, man. And Canelo didn't even really get punished for that. You know, that wasn't a real punishment, man. Like 6 months, he still got to fight on the normal fight date that he fight on. He just missed the May date, then he still fought in September. It's like, you know, everybody can get out the illusion that Canelo is just so much better than since he fought Mayweather, he got so much better. I never agree with that. I feel like Canelo stay away from a certain style. Canelo needs to work on his boxing skills. He actually have skills. He needs to use his boxing skills and stop throwing every punch hard. Stop trying to just like, especially, man, you moving up in weight, man. It's like you moving up in weight, these dudes can take your punches a little better. So why depend on your power to knock them out? But the thing is, though, you can do that if you want to, but if it's not working, why not make adjustments? If you so great and these people think you just got so much better than since the time you fought Mayweather, if you so much better, why you didn't make no adjustments, man? And it's like, I'm going hard on this right now because it's like, you can't put nobody on a pedestal to be this on this level and this great #1 pound for pound, and he undisputed at 168, and he just so great, and he can't make not one adjustment in the fight or even try to make an adjustment. He fought the same way the whole fight, you know. Canelo, man, I know a lot of Canelo fans is gonna be mad. They ain't gonna understand, like, they ain't gonna want to admit that, you know, he overrated. But if you be real with yourself, man, you'll know that he a good fighter. He a good fighter. He ducked fighters like in his prime, man. Like, Canelo's still young, man. He ducked the Charlos, man. He ducked Andre, man. These guys is his mandatory, man. Like, you know, how you gonna say that these fighters how you gonna say Andre the horrible fighter, but then you fight Abner Yildirim, you fight Rocky Field, and you fight all them guys you fighting Andre better than them. You know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. The Charlos, the same thing for them, man. It's like they was your mandatories at one point, and you still haven't fought them, but you know these other guys deserve the title shot. It's like the guys that we know will give Canelo problems, he don't fight them. You know, he could have fought David Benavidez. He didn't fight David Benavidez. He said he didn't want to fight no more Mexicans after that. You know, I mean, after David Benavidez was pushing to get that fight. But you know, man, I feel like Canelo, he been exposed, man. It's been a blueprint to beat him, and I guess if you want to say he got exposed again, because a lot of people thought he was invincible now, but you know, Bivol talking about going to 168 and fighting Canelo for all his belts. So for everybody who's saying that Bivol is too big for him, when he go to 168, that should be in Canelo's favor, being that the guy he fight at 175, so he got to cut that weight and make 168. So maybe that should give Canelo an advantage. So we'll see what happens with that, man. But you know, man, everybody drop in the comment section how y'all feel about this, man. And this Amin Boxing Club. Everybody like, comment, and subscribe. I'm out.